Hi guys, and welcome to this week's video. So this week I'm going to be installing a Velux. So here I am in the space that I'm going to install a Velux. Now we've got quite a large Velux going in here. We're actually going to have two either side, and we wanted two big windows either side. So the idea is when people are sleeping in the bed, they can kind of look up to the stars, because we have amazing views of the Milky Way and all of the stars kind of in the sky, because there's really no light pollution where we are. So we're going to be installing a Velux here. It's a big Velux. I have started doing a smaller Velux area, and one thing I will share with all of you is please make sure you have the exact parts that you require for the job. I thought I had the exact parts, but literally all of them have slightly different kind of numbers. For example, this is an insulation collar, and it's called a BDX. Now, when I was looking for things, I was like, okay, it's a BDX. There didn't seem to be any other numbers. I'm installing it, well, this is the smaller collar. So I've got an MK04, BDX, MK04, Bob's your uncle, I'm in there. Now, what I didn't realise, and when I actually searched on the website for where I bought these from the shop, I typed in BDX, and there was only one BDX insulation collar for my window. Okay, great. That's all I need. I've got it. It was delivered. I spent ages faffing around with a hole, trying to work out what the hell was going on, because it just wouldn't fit. And then I realised, okay, this isn't the right part. For whatever reason, it's not the right part. So I actually went on to the Velux UK website and tried to build my window and ticked what everything I needed. And on there was a slightly separate collar, so you could have a recess or an unrecessed window. And that changed this number here. So instead of 0000, it was 000F. And I just hadn't noticed, hadn't realised. So actually I ended up getting the wrong insulation collar, and that basically messed up the whole insulation, and I wasted a load of time. So my advice for anyone installing a Velux window is make sure you have all the parts. It's really confusing. You have to do lots of research. I don't think it's actually that difficult to install a Velux as long as you have all of the right parts. And today I'm going to show you how I'm installing my Veluxes, and hopefully that will help you install your Velux, and hopefully this bit of advice has helped you not make the same mistake as I did. Okay, so I'm obviously installing this Velux here in France. Now I know for a fact that in the UK there are certain building regulations around installing Veluxes, so you need to make sure you kind of Google them and make sure you're doing what you need to do. However, one of the things that they say in Britain is actually doubling up the joists. Now normally you would have to double up the joist right from the top and the bottom of the roof, which can be a bit of a pain in the ass. Luckily, I've got these two large beams, and so all I really need to do is put a joist in between here, so that it really just to help take some of the weight from the roof, from the tiles and from the roof, because obviously I'm going to be taking out these two here, so I'm actually creating quite a large space. So there's quite a lot of weight that I will be, or a lot of support I'll be removing. So I've added one of these joists. Now I have literally just got my joist, which is this. Luckily I had enough room just to slip it underneath here, or underneath there I should say, and then I just literally hammered it up. So I just whacked it until I got right up to the top. Now again, one of the good things that I sort of did, my father-in-law said, well, why don't we put a bit of washing up liquid on it to help it slide up, because these beams are exactly the same size as these ones, but these really have had many years to dry out, whereas these really are still a bit wet. So of course there is a slight difference, but I did want it tight. So a little bit of fairy liquid, and that helped really get these joists up into place. And then I've really just screwed them together just to sort of support them. But what this will do is just add a little bit of extra support either side of the Velux to take some of the weight. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is also do the same at the bottom. So I will be cutting out these two big beams and I will be putting an extra support at the bottom. Now, realistically, I probably don't need it because I've got this bad boy. But I'm going to do it anyway because I think it will just help support the window a little bit more and really belt and braces job. On the top, so if I put that to one side, on the top, I could put another one all the way along, but I'm actually going to infill these here and just screw them in. And again, the reason why I'm doing that is one, to give a bit of extra support, but also mainly because when I come to install a Velux window, I kind of want something to screw into and to support it. Now, I could use one of these sort of cross beams that are holding the tiles. I could put that on the top and that would do the same job. Again, it's just a bit of belt and braces really, so I'm going to put them in to support it. It also gives me a little bit of advantage because I've measured the right distance width-wise, but height-wise, I need to just come down slightly. So this allows me to kind of get the hole the right size. Again, you might have noticed that I've put one beam on this side and one beam on the outer side. So that's kind of, I suppose, in the inside, that's on the outer side. The reason why I've done that is purely to get the right hole size. If these were slightly further apart, I would have put both of them inside, or if I needed to get more space, I would have put both of them the outside. It doesn't really matter. It was purely just so that I can get the right width that I needed for my window. So there we are. So that's where we are so far. And as I said, the next stage is I'm going to start cutting these out and putting the sort of horizontal supports in. So here we are. I thought I'd give you a little update of where we've got to. So we've obviously cut where we need to here, and we've cut where we need to here, but because it's still joined by nails on here, I've taken off the tiles. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut down along the lines, and then hopefully this bit should come off. And I've also put some supports in up the top here, just in between the beams, and obviously I've cut along these beams here. So, as you can see, I mean, it's a gorgeous sunny day today. Look at that blue sky. But if I stand back a little bit more, it's going to be a massive window. It's going to be huge. There it is down there. It's going to be big. But what it does do is let a lot of light in. This is the north side, and we're going to do the same on the south side. As you can see, I've already put my doubled up joists in. But if I did that side first, you'd be blinded by the sun the whole time. So I had to do this one first so that I could actually film it. So there we are. I've taken the tiles off, loads of tiles, just so you can see which tiles I've got. These are the tiles I've got. Now, I sort of originally thought these were just flat tiles, and I got the wrong flashing. So again, when I was talking about getting the right parts, here we are. So this is the flashing that I've got, and it's called the EDW. And the advantage of this, if I open it up a little bit, is as you can see there, you've got kind of the LED flashing, or I don't know if it's actually LED, but the flashing that actually can bend towards your tiles. And if I show you the instructions here, you can see it actually kind of bends to your tiles. Tiles we've got, and as you can see, that's the window I started and failed on because I got the wrong parts. So make sure you get the wrong part. Make sure you get the right parts. So let's go back upstairs. So make sure you get the right parts, otherwise you end up with a hole waiting for some new parts to be delivered. But I think I've got everything for this window. Next thing I'm going to do, crack on, let's cut these bits out so we'll have a whole window. And what I've got behind me is what I was talking about, the BDX, which is the insulation collar. So here are the instructions that you come with the window. And again, to be fair, the instructions aren't too bad. They're pretty good, pretty simple. You do have to, we're following the red square here, and because we've got the EDW flashing. Obviously you can see my measurements of exactly how big the window needs to be. So depending on your window, your window opening's got to be slightly bigger. And then obviously depending on red or blue is where your fixings go. But just wanted to show you here, obviously there's different things that you can buy. So that one is the BDX, which is the insulation collar. I've then got the window, and I've also got the flashing kit, which is this one. Now I haven't got this vapor kind of kit purely because, as you can see, I don't really have any interior vapor membrane or waterproof membrane inside. So I'm not going to use it. Haven't bought it. I'm just going to put it in. But the rest of it is probably useful and worth buying. So let's crack on. So we have now just removed the frame or the window from the frame, and I'm just putting the fittings on the side. As you can see, there's a blue line and a red line, and to be fair to them, if I was using the blue line, you'll see how these fittings will fit into the holes that they've given you. So there's holes here, and these just fit in really well and really nicely, and they provide the screws as well. And I've got my insulation collar in, and that fits in really nicely. So as soon as I've got these brackets on, I'll be able to lift the frame in and then hopefully fit the window to make sure it fits okay. That is going to be the hard bit because that window weighs a ton. But look how big it is. It's a massive window. I'm not sure we meant to get such a big one. We've got another one going there as well. That was knackering. So you probably saw we were faffing around trying to get in and out, realised it was the wrong way, eventually worked out how we got it in, and it was in, but frustratingly you have to get it in to make sure the frame is absolutely level and perfect. So if you need to, you can do adjustments. But it was absolutely perfectly square. So now we've taken the window back out, which is frustrating because it took us ages to get in order for me to do the flashing. We'll do the flashing and then we can get the window in and never touch it again. But that was knackering and that's heavy. So it's a new day, and as you can see, we've got the Velux in. Don't worry, I'm going to show you how we did that with this second Velux. It's just I had problems with the camera yesterday and I couldn't get it sorted, and in the end I just needed to get the window in. So we've got it in, and as you can see, it looks great, or I think it looks great. And I'm going to show you where we left off yesterday, today, and I'm going to show you what we did with this Velux, just to show you the finished product of how to install a Velux. Okay, so we're back at the same point as we were with the other window, and we've made the hole. We've got our insulation, the BDX, around, and we've also got the frame in, and we've lifted the window in to make sure that the frame is level and straight and the window opens correctly, which it does, thank God. And now we're on to installing the flashing. So if I take you up here and I'll show you the flashing that we've got. There we are. Again, nice sunny day. So here's the flashing that we've got, and it's called the EDW, and it molds and bends around your tiles. But as we've got quite flat tiles, we don't actually have to mold this very much, which is great. The only problem is as you can see there, it doesn't quite go over the tiles. It does go over most of them. You can see there how much by it goes over. But just to kind of give it belt and braces, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a strip of flashing kind of underneath here, just to kind of run along there, just to help, just in case. What I don't want to be doing is coming back up here in 6 months' time or a year's time or whatever, fixing leaks because I haven't done it now. So hopefully you won't have this problem. But what it does show is that when you're designing your window, you want to make sure that where you place your window is kind of correctly in line with where the battens are or where your tiles are and things like that. To be honest with you, again, we're going to have not the same problem, but hopefully our tiles up here are just long enough that when we have the flashing will sit there, but we'll double check that when we come to the top. So we should be okay on the top, but on the bottom, we're just a little bit shy. So ideally, what I would have done is actually would have had the window down slightly. Now I did actually have the space to do that. I could have put this beam here kind of further down and actually bring the window a bit further, but I didn't, and I didn't do it on this one, and I noticed it on that one. But the problem was, what I want to do is I want to have both windows looking the same. So I've had to do the same on this window, but I could have lowered it, but unfortunately I didn't really pre-plan it or rethink it. And obviously if you're doing this where you can't see the roof tiles, that would make it even harder again. So we are where we are. So let's get our sort of strip installed at the bottom there. So there we are. You can see that I've installed the flashing here. So this is just a strip of flashing that I've bought and I've just put down. And what I've done is I've just sort of bent it round the tiles so that when we put the actual Velux window flashing on top, it will just sit on top of this. It just gives it a little bit of extra support and making sure that there won't be any leaks. But yeah, that looks good. So there we are. I've now put the Velux flashing in, and as you can see, there's a nice runoff onto the flashing that I've put on and then onto my tiles. And that way just gives a really nice, neat finish. So I'm going to put the sides of the flashing on now. I've put the bottom bit. And as you can see, it comes with these kind of, I don't know, insulation bits. But because my tiles will be sitting on it really flat, what it will do is it'll bend these little prongs. And it says in the instructions that they're not allowed to do it. So what I'm going to do is literally just cut them. Now I know roughly where to cut them because I've done that window. But I'll cut them, and then this will allow the tiles to just sit on here without them bending. So I'm going to do that for both sides, and then I can install them. Okay, so we've now got the flashing in, and we've got the side bits, we've got the top, and the other side bits. So now the next stage is to put all the tiles back in place and around the window before we can get the window in. There we are. So I've got all the tiles all nicely around the window. I've got the flashing that sits here perfectly. I've got my extra bit of flashing that I've put in just to kind of, I suppose, give me a little bit of leeway. But I'm really happy with that. It looks great. There's a fantastic view here. Now we just got to get the window in. There we are. So as you probably noticed, that was a lot easier because we've got both that window and that window in a couple of times now, so we sort of know what we're doing. So it was a lot easier, even though it was still heavy, but it works really well. And now I'm going to have to just, obviously, when I do the inside of it, kind of hide all of this bit and everything else. But it lets so much light into the upstairs here that I'm really, really happy with it. And hopefully when people are lying in their beds here, they'll have full view of the sky, and hopefully the Milky Way normally goes across there, so you should be able to have a really good view of it. So that's it for how to install a Velux. See you next time. Cheers, guys. Bye.